Welcome to another episode of the Profitable Home Services Podcast. I am so excited to share some more amazing information with you today. Our guest today is Daniel Dixon from Sen Gym. You may or may not have ever heard from his company. I see it a lot because I see it in the general ledgers for my clients. And so we wanted to reach out to Daniel and say, why are my clients using you? Why is this working? So let me tell you a little bit about Daniel. Daniel became the CEO of Sen Gym in 2019. Prior to becoming that, Daniel served as a military officer in the United States Air Force. So thank you for your service. And worked in corporate America as a business consultant for a nationally recognized consulting firm. During his time as a consultant, he founded a carpet cleaning business and really found a passion for entrepreneurship and small business. In addition to his role in Sen Gym, Daniel owns an epoxy garage floor coating company with his brother. Welcome to the program, Daniel. We're so glad to have you.
Thanks, Diane. I appreciate it. I'm really happy to be here.
Tell me a little bit, or tell our listeners a little bit about what is Sen Gym?
Yeah, so Sen Gym is a product that really does two things at the highest level, right? We have a bunch of features and we can do all these cool little tricks, but Sen Gym as a whole does two things. The first is we help you find customers. So that's the typical customer acquisition. But the second is the more unique and probably where we're best at is to maximize the lifetime value of your current customer. And we can do that through a couple different ways, through increasing the frequency in which a customer uses you, the number of service a customer is buying from you, enabling you to charge more for your service because we work on the relationship, not just the transaction. So things like that to help you get more value out of that customer that you've acquired.
I think sometimes business owners don't stop and think about that lifetime value of that customer. If you can keep them for 5 years instead of 2, 8 years instead of 2, what that does to their bottom line profit because of the cost of acquiring a new customer.
Yes, 100%. And you see this probably all the time. And if you're helping customers understand their acquisition costs and maybe benchmarking like what areas they're spending, too much in marketing. And what we see is that customers of ours, so contractors like your customers, these home service contractors, they start their business the only way they can, which is they have to acquire customers, right? That's the only way to go from zero to having a business. And the problem is that we get really good at that skill, which is great, but it's actually a problem in disguise because we become addicted to acquiring customers. But over time, we've acquired this insanely valuable list of customers, and it's this very valuable asset, and we don't utilize it. So you have this really valuable asset out there, and you think in your mind, the only way I can grow is to get more customers, get more customers, get more customers. And you want to get more customers, but in fact, there's a lot more cost-effective ways to generate increases in revenue without acquiring customers.
And a minute ago, you mentioned deepening the relationships with your customers. I think that is such a vital key that so many business owners miss, is getting to know those people, somehow staying involved in their lives in some fashion, so that when the next problem arises, you are the logical choice. They're going to pick up the phone and call you, or however they're going to contact you, but they're not even going to go price shopping. They're not going to get bids from somebody else. They're just going to go call Daniel over at Sen Gym.
Yes.
And that is what you want. We want that ultimate, just call. No, you don't want to get your 3 bids. You don't want to do all that kind of stuff. You just want them to call you because they had a great experience the first time.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So an example that people are thinking, well, how do I do that? I already treat my customers well. Like, how do I move from transactional, which is they're just paying me for a service, they don't care about me, and I don't care about them, and that's okay. Like, we're just exchanging money for a service, to, hey, I really like this person, I trust them, I want to use them. A simple example of that is in my epoxy floor coating company, we use Sen Gym to automatically send handwritten cards after every quote that goes out, just saying, thank you for the opportunity to provide you a quote. right? In the world of contractors that you probably work with today, some of these, some people are lucky if the contractor even shows up when they say they're going to give a quote, or they don't return their call, or they don't, if they do show up on time and they actually give a quote. We've had people come out to my house and actually show up and say they're going to send me a quote, and then they never even send it. So it's like they spend all the time and money to go out there and then they didn't even send a quote. But to go that one step further for like an extra few dollars, it gives them a sense of feeling that it's hard to replicate because no one else is doing it. So they become someone that trusts you, that likes you, that wants to use you, as opposed to just going with the lowest cost, technically acceptable solution.
What are some of those other features that SendGem does? Because I've seen my clients using some of them.
Yeah, so we do things like that. We can automate the follow-up with thank you. So when an invoice closes, we can automatically follow up when we integrate with your CRM. We do really unique things with customer acquisition. So hyper targeted. And by that, I mean, like, for example, when we close an invoice in your CRM, we can automatically enter the neighbors of your customer into a direct mail campaign. So we could say, hey, did you see us at your neighbor's house? Hey, that was us that replaced your neighbor's air conditioning unit. They loved us. You'll love us too. And that makes a ton of sense. If you've tried mail in the past and haven't had success, a lot of that can be because it's just not targeted enough. And when you're mailing to the neighbors of your customers, not only have they seen you, so it provides some social proof. Hey, my neighbor used this company. So if I need a company, there's a really good chance that I would want to use a company my neighbor used. That's kind of like getting almost like a referral. The age of the home is likely similar. So if someone's replacing their unit, there's a good chance their neighbor might need a unit replacement within a similar time period. The income demographics are the same. The demographics of the people living there are very similar. So we just we're really a tech company that's using technology to get really smart about mailing. So we're a tech company using kind of a very old school marketing technique, which is direct mail.
And it's working because everybody else is throwing emails and stuff like that at them.
Exactly. Yeah. Direct mail has like a 90% read rate or open rate, whereas like emails, you're down in the 20%. So it does cost something, but because it costs something, there's a different response to that.
I'm a big fan of the lumpy mail.
Yes.
So they're curious. It's like, what's in there? I better open it. Get them to at least open it and look at it. And those are always fun to get to do.
Yes. And the handwritten, so like you go to the extreme, right? Like a FedEx envelope that is like certified mail is going to 100% open rate. Like no one's going to throw that away without opening it. The handwritten card, similarly, it's written, addressed, and has a real stamp on it. 98% open rate. Postcards are going to get looked at, but maybe not really paid much attention to. So there's just varying degrees of that. But you're right. There's some tactics there where you can almost guarantee to get in front of somebody.
And I love the idea that you're hitting the surrounding neighborhood, because if you're already in the area, it's nice not to have to pick up and move to a different area and then come running back at some point down the road to service somebody else in that area.
Yes, there's nothing better than dominating a neighborhood and really improving that route density. As gas prices go up and, these guys are paying their employees a lot per hour because they're skilled, technicians. It's expensive to start driving around. And if they serve 3 jobs a day or 3 locations and they're driving 30 minutes per location, that could be an hour and a half, 2 hours of travel every single day that just gets, really wasted.
That's really cool. What are some of the biggest growth opportunities that you see when you start working with a home service business?
Yeah, some of those biggest growth opportunities are really just getting hyper targeted with their acquisition spend. And you could speak to this, but really understanding their numbers, right? A lot of people say, oh, I spend this on this marketing channel. Maybe it's Facebook. I spend this on Google. I spend this on Yelp or whatever the channel is. And they don't understand what the return for that channel is and what the benefits of that channel are. So oftentimes, even the people that think they know their numbers, they'll say, oh, well, my cost per lead on, AdWords is $90, or my cost per lead on a postcard is $140. So that's definitely not as good. But what people don't understand is that with AdWords, you're getting leads potentially all over the, map. It's very difficult to target in location. And I'm just speaking generally, but Facebook might have a really low close rate. So you might get 10 leads before you close a job, where with direct mail, you might close 50% of your jobs or 80% of your jobs. So really understanding at a more granular level can generally produce opportunities to save money and get more profitable. And then the other big thing that I see here, and probably like the number one thing to get a better ROI on your marketing, in addition to understanding your numbers, is marketing to that asset list, right? Some of these businesses have 10,000 customers, 20,000 customers, and they've never been marketed to other than, well, I send a monthly email. Well, guess what? Like, I'm your target customer and I have 4 emails. One of them I check regularly, and that's my work email. And basically when I'm in work mode, like if I get a marketing email, like I never ever see it. I never open it. Gmail now has strong filters, and so do some of the other email servers, where it's like all the promotions from a company go here, all the social emails go here. And so like that email is never getting to me. So if you're saying I'm sending a monthly email, that's great. Like you should keep doing that because it's basically free. But there is so much juice you can squeeze from that lemon that you're just not accessing.
I know in my own business, we mail out a paper newsletter instead of
Yes.
emailing it. And I get comments from people years later where they'll come in with 2 or 3 of them in their hand. Okay, now I'm ready to talk about whatever these topics are. And they've held on to them for a long period of time, where if I was sending that in email, it would have been long gone. They wouldn't have even caught it.
Yes.
So some of those old school things work really well.
Absolutely. We have stories like that all the time. I sent a mailing last year and I just got another phone call from it, because people, like you said, they're not ready. And one of the biggest surveys we saw was that people don't like digital marketing because they're not ready to buy when they see it, and then they can't find it again. So they see an ad, even on TV, right? And you just say, oh, that's really cool. And then a week later, even, or a month later, you just don't remember what the company was, or, and a lot of contractors don't realize people actually want to use their service again, and they literally don't remember who they used. So there was a survey done of carpet cleaners and our customers who used a carpet cleaner, and 80% of them could not accurately identify the name of the company they used 14 days after the service.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
if they need you in a year from now, what are the chances they're going to be able to like type in your web address, right? They're going to go to Google and be like, oh, carpet cleaners in Nashville, Tennessee. And they're going to look for your name, but they're also going to get 3 ads at the top, right? And a lot of people just don't ever navigate toward, back to your company. So it's just a lot of missed opportunity out there. And you paid so much to capture them on the front end. You might have paid $300 to get that customer. Let's spend $1.50 every year to stay in front of them and keep them for 10 years, like you talked about.
And that's huge, because that lifetime value of that customer just went from maybe a couple $1,000s to 50, 60, 70 on up, thousands of dollars over the years, because you stayed in contact with them. And you are top of mind. And when their friends or their family needs somebody, hey, I've got his information, let me just send it to you. And they'll do that type of thing.
Yes, absolutely. And that's another one. And we actually had someone contact Syngem and say, hey, I have an issue. We're getting people to call us from outside of places where we sent postcards. And I said, oh, really? Like, let's look into it. And it turns out that this company had 2 or 3 people call from people that were outside their service area, but their customer used them and they liked them so much that when they got the reminder card, they gave it to a family member, or they took a picture and said, hey, like, you guys should look into this, or you should use this company. And, lo and behold, it was outside their service area, so it didn't do them any good, but they wouldn't have known that people were using that to refer other people had they not, had that experience.
Yeah, people are funny that way. And it's what a validation to have somebody refer, even though they're outside of your service area, but to still get that referral.
Yes,
That's got to feel good to know that you've done enough, you've done a good enough job that you wowed them and
yes,
they reached out. So that's
yes,
great.
exactly.
What is this next question is an area that I struggle with as an accountant is how do my clients, your customers, measure their ROI and how do they know what's coming back on all the different marketing channels? Because it seems like they're just throwing money against the wall and they're hoping something will stick.
Yeah, it's very, very challenging, even as a marketer and a business owner that understands the numbers and really tries to dive in, it's still a challenge. So I don't think there's a perfect way, but we'll start, there's kind of all the way from the beginning to the end of the process and some things you can do. So the first thing is try to identify the first time you talk to a lead, where that lead came from. And you can use call tracking, you can use special landing pages with QR codes, etc. But the reality of it is no one is always going to fall into one of those, use those things that you put in place. So you have to have your salespeople or whoever's picking up the phone be really trained and dedicated on identifying the lead source. Oh, Mrs. Jones, I see that you're calling today from our website. How did you hear about the website? Oh, from a postcard or a magazine? That's fantastic. Which one? Do you happen to know which one that was? Okay, great. Right, drilling down and not just say, oh, this is the phone number on our website. Because what happens is a lot of time, especially with print marketing, but other channels as well, I'll receive a postcard. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to their GMB listing, their Google My Business, and say, what do their reviews look like? And then I'm going to click their website and say, oh, does their website look professional? Let me learn about them a little bit. And I might fill out a form on the website. I might call from their GMB listing. I might call from the original ad phone number. So don't just take those, metrics from your landing pages or your GMB listing or whatever, your QR code, don't take them for granted. Really have to train your people and explain to them the importance of getting the lead source correct and track the lead source. So that's the first biggest thing, right? You got to have good data to understand that. And then really looking at marketing spend per channel and, the number of leads that are coming in. So cost per lead per channel, conversion rate per channel, cost per customer per channel. And then even factoring in some of those things like, well, are the leads in the location that I want, right? What's the quality? Are they, am I able to really narrow down the location, or am I able to narrow down these type of leads spend more? Like we even go into that, what's the average ticket for each lead channel? So it can get a bit difficult, but I think the important thing is having a bookkeeper that understands your goal and helps you track the cost in those ways and is able to report to you your numbers in such a way that's helpful like that. And then of course your accountant can help with that and potentially even benchmark across other similar clients.
So do you find that there's one or two sources that tend to perform a little better than others?
Yes, there's always going to be one or two sources that outperform others in particular industries. So for example, industries that have really good before and afters that are luxury items, they're not necessities. So for example, epoxy floor coating, they do great on social media because you can visually see a before and after. It's just like kind of an impulse buy, right? But like roofing or plumbing probably isn't going to do great on social media because no one's like scrolling Facebook and like, oh yeah, like my toilet might clog tomorrow. Let me take a screenshot of that, right? It's more of like, oh my gosh, I have this overflowing toilet. Like, let me get on Google and find someone. So AdWords might work better for that type of thing. Or yard signs might work better for a roofer because the neighbor also needs the same roof. And so do neighbor mailings with postcards are great because all the roofs in the neighborhood are likely the same age. So those sources are really going to vary by industry. And you would think, oh, is this lead source good? The answer is yes. But for you, I'm not sure. Does that make sense?
That does. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
And do you find that some of these sources produce maybe a better type customer versus others? I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, I got 100 calls, well, I got
Right.
one job. I got
Right.
10 calls and got one job.
Yes. So print marketing is generally going to, and pay, and Google AdWords are going to generally produce customers with higher intent or leads with higher intent, right? So if you get a postcard, you took time to look at it, and then you actually punched in the phone number and called, right? And so that person has a much higher intent on buying, and is typically the people actually looking at physical mail are higher income, surprisingly. They're property owners. So they are going to be in general better leads, or spend potentially more money. It's really easy to scroll on your phone and accidentally click something, or to say, oh, I'm curious about that, and you're not really serious, but it's an impulse decision to reach out or fill out a form. So anything coming through social media, or where leads are being distributed from a source, like a paid lead source, you're probably going to get a lower response rate or a lower quality lead. I'm not saying they're not good or you shouldn't do them, but in general, that's what we see.
Well, it's nice to get kind of that little bit higher level on, in general,
Yeah.
what should we be doing for different types of home service businesses?
Yeah. And different types of leads do different things, right? So mail is really good at legitimizing your business. So you probably don't receive nearly as many ads in the mail as you do with on social media, for example, or on Google, or on your web browsing, because that's really cheap. And people realize that. So anybody with $5 in a computer or a phone can run a Facebook ad. For you to send out physical mail and be consistent with it, it really legitimizes your company. This is expensive. They have a professional designer. This is their brand. So it can do other things for you, depending on the channel that you're going through.
What other types of follow-up type projects, or whatever that you want to call it, do you guys have? I know you said you got the thank you for the quote, thank you for the job. How else can we build relationships?
Yes. So we call it a thank you follow-up sequence. So we like to automate sequences for our customers where when they complete a service, and there's an invoice that's paid, we automatically enter them into it. It starts with a thank you. So thanks for having us out, build that relationship, right? Now they like you. And then following up in the future, maybe it's 3 months or 6 months, saying, hey, did you also know that we did this? Most companies don't just have one service, right? And that person may have bought that one service, and they could be completely unaware that they do something else. And what we find is a lot of our contractors have 80% of their revenues generated in one service, and it's typically not the highest margin service. It's kind of like not a loss leader, but it's a service that everyone knows about, that's easy to get customers in the door. But the high ticket, really high margin service they want to be selling, they're not even telling people about. So it's 3 to 6 months after, now that they know, like, and trust you because you've already done a really good job, you provided a professional quote, you came and did the work, you provided a thank you. Now 3 months from now, we're saying, hey, did you know that we also do this? And if that person happens to even remotely be interested in it and is going to get a quote for that, you better believe they're going to reach out to you, if not just reach out to you only. So that can be super profitable. So following up with your other services, and then following up with a reminder in a time frame that makes sense. So if it's roof cleaning, hey, it's been 1 year since your last roof cleaning. We'd love to get you back on the books. Or, hey, it's been 1 year since we last installed your HVAC unit, or we installed your new HVAC unit. We'd love to come out for a free inspection, right? Build that value and build that relationship with a customer, and increase opportunities for you to generate revenue.
I love that. I think, especially post-COVID, building
Yeah.
those relationships is probably the most important thing we can do as a business owner.
Yes. I
And I
mean,
think
who would it take up like a HVAC company on, hey, it's been a year since we installed your unit. Like we want to come provide a free inspection. Like that's incredible, but nobody's doing that. So when you do those tiny little things that no one else is doing, you become like this mega star that's like way up here and everyone else is down here. And then you can command those high prices and and still have a customer that won't get another quote, and they'll use you for the next 20 years.
And I think something to remember is you can schedule those kind of calls during the time of year when you're not as busy, not during
Yes.
your summer slam business, but during the rest of the year. So you keep your team going, your techs are happy, they got work to do, and your customers are happy because they're feeling heard and listened to, and they're feeling important.
Absolutely. That's another really good thing you can do is during your slow time, send out a mailing or a blast to your entire customer list. Hey, did you know this is the perfect time for this? And so all of those things are just really, little tweaks that you can do to an existing business to really, really increase profitability or ROI on your marketing dollars. And a lot of customers say like, well, I'm already spending too much on marketing. That's okay. You don't have to spend a single additional dollar. Let's just look at your marketing sources. And that's why it's important to understand your numbers, because we can potentially take $2,000 from this bucket and reallocate it to marketing to your customer list, right? So yes, this bucket isn't the most efficient. It may be getting you a customer here and there, but we can do a lot more with that $2,000 by just deploying it somewhere different.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Okay, here comes my zinger question.
Yeah.
What is the most unique profit leak that you have seen as you're working with your customers?
Man, that is such a good question. And I think probably kind of is the answer is fairly encompassed into a lot of what we talked about. But I would say, the biggest opportunity or profit leak is not marketing to your existing customers. That is just such a massive, when you think about it this way, Diane, when a company, the home service contractor goes to sell their business, for a lot of these businesses, the acquirer, the buyer is really buying a customer list, right? Like if you have an HVAC business that's doing $3 million, let's say, you're likely going to be bought by another HVAC business. And they already know how to do installation. Let's be honest, they already have a brand. And you're going to say, well, mine's better and all this. That's fine. But at the end of the day, I've seen a lot of acquisitions. I've worked with M&A firms doing this stuff. And they really want your customers. And they want your customer list. And they want to acquire that. And why? Because that list is insanely valuable. And they can take that list and they can squeeze more juice out of it. Right. So why don't you, that already owns the business, go squeeze that profit out? It's there. You've paid for it. Like you've paid for this. It's like you've paid for a soda and you're only willing to drink like the first quarter of it and then throw it away. Right. Because you paid for that whole thing. Let's drink all of it. And so you paid for that customer. Let's get all the juice out of that customer, and not in a way taking advantage of them, but like they want this. They want your service. They need your service. And as long as you do the right thing and market to them appropriately, they're going to spend more money with you.
And ultimately, I think they're going to appreciate the fact that you have kept in contact with them.
Yes.
A dead or a cold customer list has very little value in it.
Yes.
Versus one that's been nurtured and grown and developed and stuff over the years.
Yes. 100%. So probably not the best answer to your question, but I think that there's a lot of profit leak, if you will, going on with your customer list.
And I'll second that, because I have those kinds of conversations with my clients as to, when's the last time you reached out to them?
Yeah.
They can't even remember. Well, let's point you in the direction of somebody who can help you do that. That's not me. That's not my part in your business, but I have contacts and I have partners out there in my world, in my network, that I can send them to, and let's get you working on this part of your business. And it's amazing what the results usually are.
Sure. Yep. And it doesn't have to be through mail. It doesn't have to be through a product like Syngin, but I would encourage you to find a way that's automated, first of all. And I would encourage you to find multiple ways to get in contact with them. I'm busy. I don't like I don't like companies reaching out via text that I didn't already ask for. I don't read my email unless it's really important for work, because I just get too many of them. So your customers are going to have different avatars, but find multiple automated ways to reach out to them.
And I think they'll thank you for it in the long run.
Yes, they'll thank you with opening their wallet for you.
They will. Yes.
Yeah.
We always call that voting with your feet. They'll walk towards your business as opposed to away from your business to over next to your competitor because they've forgotten who you are. But they'll walk towards your business and they'll beg you, to allow them to do business with you.
I love that. I have not heard that, but I'm going to start using that.
Yeah, vote with your feet. So the same
Vote
type
with
of thing,
your
you go into a business and you don't get good customer service, you can just turn around and walk out. You just voted with your feet.
Yes.
I'll go down the block a couple blocks, down the road a couple blocks, and there'll be somebody else who will pay some attention to me when you
Yes.
first walk in. If you're never acknowledged and they're just busy carrying on their conversation and they didn't even acknowledge you, well, that didn't give you a warm fuzzy for that business. Well, flip
Yes.
it around the other way. If you're giving your customers amazing customer experience and you're creating these little wow experiences through your contact and your ongoing nurturing of them, they're going to vote with their feet, their fingers on their phone and other pieces of themselves as well by not only reaching out to you, but telling their friends and their family.
Yes. Yep. 100%. Totally agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I love that profit leak. That's one I've not had anybody share yet on our series that we're doing here.
I'm glad it was unique.
Yes, you are unique. So if our visitors wanted to learn more about Send Gym, where would they go?
Yes, they can just go to sendgym.com. That's send like you're sending a postcard, SEND, and then the name Jim, JIM.com. The name doesn't really make sense, but there's a story behind that, and we can talk about that when you come see us for a demo or ask us a question. We'd love to help you. And even if you're not interested in our product, but just have questions about marketing, go to our website, open a chat with us. We got real people in the United States that can chat with you in just a few minutes. And we'd love to help. We'd love to understand your business.
And I will say you have a very entertaining video when you first go out there. I sat there and I watched it and I'm waiting and he's telling me, well, click the button. It's like, I don't want to click the button, but I'm enjoying your video.
Yes, our video is a little bit outdated, but it is fun. So if you want to know what Diane's talking about, go check out the video.
It was entertaining.
Good, I'm glad.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing these words of wisdom, because I think these are areas that we get busy. We're just busy putting out fires. We're busy getting that next job closed. We're trying to get it done on time. Oh, somebody called in sick. I got to get a person in their spot. We get so busy with these things that we forget some of this almost basics 101 type of stuff of coming back and thinking about your customer and nurturing them and developing that longer term relationship with them. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me and getting the opportunity to chat to your audience. I love talking small business, and I don't always get to do that within the accounting perspective. So that's nice. I appreciate your time and had a lot of fun.
Well, good. Thank you so much. And we're going to say this is a wrap for this episode of the Profitable Home Services Podcast. Remember, it's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep. And if you'd like a free digital copy of my book, Your Path to Profits, which you can see back there behind my head, just go on out to our site at yourpathtoprofitsbook.com, where you can download your free digital copy of that book. Thank you so much. And that's a wrap for today.